Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take your complex source material, filter out all the noise, and really just hand you the nuggets of knowledge you're looking for.
And today, you've challenged us with, a truly monumental piece. It's a really deep exploration of time, reality, cosmology.
All drawn from the teachings of Param, who is sometimes referred to as Nithyananda.
It's not just dense, it's a whole system. The mission here is to understand this complete three-tiered framework for existence that the source calls Aham, Aham, and Param.
Right. Think of it as a kind of vertical map of reality.
Exactly.
So that's our journey for this deep dive. We're going to unpack these three layers. We'll show how the framework moves from this, philosophical self-liberation in Aham.
All the way to very hard-nosed practical time management in AM.
And then ultimately it lands on these surprisingly specific principles of cosmic physics in Param. It's a huge journey, so let's get into it. Starting right at the core of your own experience. Aham, or subjective reality. Okay, so in Aham, the subjective truth being presented is, well, it's a total reframing of how we experience time.
A complete reframing. The source claims that the entire past, present, and future is basically a film, a movie being screened.
And the key insight, the part that really changes things, is that you are not the character, not the passenger watching the movie.
You're the screen itself.
The screen.
And this is where the whole concept of personal freedom really begins. The source material states that humanity has been, for lack of a better word, brainwashed into believing they're just a passenger on a train called time.
Just being carried along.
Right, to some predetermined destiny. But the truth flips that completely. It says you are the foundational track on which the train of time actually moves.
That is a profound shift, but for the person who's just stuck in traffic, how do you stop feeling like a passenger on that train? I mean, the pressure of deadlines, schedules, it feels very real every single day.
Well, that feeling of pressure, that's the trap. When you forget you're the track or the screen, you get caught up in the drama of the film.
You start identifying with the characters, the plot.
Exactly. And that, the source claims, is the origin of all suffering. It's the difference between being the immutable witness and being the reactive participant.
And that identification just gets amplified by how we're always trying to grasp the present moment. The source defines the present as utterly elusive. You try to catch it and it slips away like water through fingers.
And this idea is encoded right into the ancient language. This is why the Sanskrit word for a second is shana.
Shana.
It means that which dissolves or disappears the very moment you try to observe it. The true present can't be captured by the mind.
So if the present is uncatchable, then what about the past and the future? The source is really clear here. It says you have never touched the future and never lived the past.
This is the real genius of the Iham perspective. The past only ever exists as a present memory.
Okay.
And the future only ever exists as present anticipation or imagination. So philosophically, everything that's real is happening right now within the eternal present of the screen.
And the material pivots pretty hard on this point. It defines the greatest shared illusion, not as something physical like money or power.
No, it's mental. It's the psychological belief in time.
The little narrator in your head.
Exactly. The one that creates regret about yesterday and anxiety about tomorrow. It's not about the practical clock time you use for meeting. It's that internal story that causes trauma and pain.
So the goal in Aham is to establish yourself in that eternal now.
And by doing that, you instantly liberate yourself from that psychological time. You end the suffering it causes. You shift from being a victim reacting to the plot to being the consciousness that is simply witnessing the plot.
Okay, so moving from that psychological screen to the practical everyday clock brings us to the second layer, Iham, or shared reality.
Yes, and this is where that profound philosophical insight has to meet some brutally practical time management.
And the core truth here is each second is life, and therefore
time management is life management. This whole part of the source moves into external applied realization. And the analogy it uses for time is, well, it's brilliant because it's the ultimate equalizer.
Right. Every single person, doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, you wake up every morning with a deposit of exactly 86,400 seconds.
Exactly 86,400. And crucially, that deposit can't be saved. You can't borrow against tomorrow's.
And you definitely can't get a refund on yesterday's wasted time. So the only question is, what do you do with that perfectly equal deposit?
The source illustrates this so well with the story of two neighbors. They both had the exact same 24 hours. One of them spent his time rushing watching TV for hours complaining.
While the other invested his time. reading, learning a new skill, consistently building his business or his health.
And after 20 years, the difference was radical. One was still complaining, waiting for luck. The other had built this successful, fulfilled life. The key distinction is that discipline of investment versus spending.
It's so easy to feel like you don't have any extra time, but the math of small waste is really sobering when you see it laid out.
It really is. The source gives a calculation that should make anyone just pause if you waste just 30 minutes a day.
Which is, let's be honest, that's a single social media scroll for most people.
Right, just 30 minutes. That totals 182.5 hours in a single year.
That's substantial. But then if you stretch that out over a working life, say 40 years, you've wasted 293 full days. I mean, that's almost an entire year of your life gone.
And conversely, if you invest that same 30 minutes a day into a skill or a business, you can become an expert in a whole new field in about 5 years.
That's the compound effect.
It's the compound effect of consistent effort applied to the ultimate resource, which is time.
So how do the masters of Iham actually operate? How do they lock in that investment mindset?
The strategy is laid out very clearly. Masters win the day in the mind before the sun comes up. They don't just wake up and react to their inbox.
They're proactive.
Completely. They categorize their activities ruthlessly.
Yeah.
You have income producing, life producing, that's health, family, and then time wasting. The goal is simple. Maximize the first two and eliminate the third.
And there's a formula for that daily rhythm, isn't there? The evening is for planning.
And the morning is for execution. Precisely. Successful people spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes in the evening deciding the 3 most important things for the next day. That sets the track.
Then in the morning, you just execute.
You execute on those 3 things. You avoid email, social media, anything that lets the world set your agenda for you. It's conscious energy applied directly to your highest priorities.
That mastery of the conscious moment then brings us to the final, really deep dive into Param, the ultimate reality. This is where the source material just takes us straight into cosmology.
And cosmic physics, yeah.
Yeah.
If AM was about internal psychological time and AM was about clock time,
then Param is about time dilation across the entire universe.
the first big shift here is moving away from that linear view of time common in the West.
Yeah.
Time is an arrow shooting from past to future.
Right.
And instead, embracing the Vedic view, which is rhythmic, it's cyclical, they call it a kala chakra, a wheel or circle of time. The universe, in this view, is more like a grand orchestrated dance than a straight line.
But the sources specify it's not just a flat circle. When you move up to what they call the higher lokas, or these vertical time zones of the cosmos, time is described as tracing an expanding helix, a spiral.
That's right. Imagine if time wasn't just moving forward, but also expanding outwards depending on where you are. The higher you go cosmologically, the more radically space-time stretches.
Which corresponds to a wider radius on that helix.
Exactly. It introduces a kind of three-dimensionality into time itself, where your position in space literally dictates your rate of time.
That level of time dilation, it sounds mythological. How does the source argue that this isn't just a fairy tale, but actual data?
They argue that the math is consistent. The Puranas contain stories that function as, essentially, verifiable proofs of time dilation.
Okay, like the famous one, the journey of King Kakudmi and his daughter Raivati.
The most famous one, yes.
Oh.
They traveled to Brahmaloka to get marriage advice from Lord Brahma.
And the ancient texts state their visit lasted just 19.44 minutes in Brahmaloka time.
But when they returned to Earth, they found that 27 Shatur Yugas had gone by. That's a stunning 116.64 million Earth years.
Wait, run that ratio again.
If you do the math, it comes out to approximately 6 million Earth years passing for every single minute they experienced in Brahmaloka. This isn't just a random number. It's a mathematical expression of a physics principle.
6 million years per minute. That just stops you in your tracks. But the sources also claim that ancient Vimana, these aerial palaces or spacecraft, their navigation systems, had to account for this.
They had to. Pilots going between locusts needed complex formulas to factor in the helical path length and the compounding effects of that vertical travel on time.
And here's where the source material gives us that stunning scientific confirmation.
It does. Hindu cosmology presumes these vertical time gradients. This is identical to the physics principles validated by Einstein's relativity.
And confirmed by our modern GPS systems every single day.
That's the real-world validation. GPS satellites are orbiting Earth, where gravity is weaker than it is for us on the surface.
And weaker gravity means a faster clock.
Weaker gravity means time flows faster, so their clocks run faster than ours. What these ancient texts understood and what GPS confirms is that time is a physical dimension affected by your location, the net effect. It requires a daily correction of exactly positive 38 microseconds, programmed into the GPS system to keep it accurate.
So that need for a relativistic correction confirms the very concept of vertical time zones the Puranas were talking about thousands of years ago.
The principle is identical. It's just the scale of measurement that's different.
Wow. So we've journeyed from this idea that we are the screen in Aham to the discipline of investing our 86,400 seconds in Aham, and finally to the cosmic blueprint of time dilation in Param.
And this whole journey of knowledge through these three realities, it's ultimately aimed at the evolution from man to divine. It's described as a superconscious breakthrough.
So how does the source suggest we use this cosmic knowledge to build a better life right now, back here in Iham?
Well, if Param gives us the blueprint for the universe, the source suggests we should use that knowledge to build a new civilization structure, one that's free from the illusion of psychological time and the scarcity of debt consciousness.
And this new structure is anchored by something they call Hindu Financial Services, or HFS,
That's right.
a whole new financial system built on consciousness. That's a pretty audacious claim. A gold-backed, post-fiat, agenic circular economy. What's the fundamental mechanism that stops it from just collapsing like other systems?
The mechanism is a shift in how value is created. The system is built on wealth consciousness. Currency isn't generated through speculation or extraction. It's generated through what they call a proof of contribution consensus.
So, verifiable enrichment activities like providing education, healthcare, or engaging in consciousness elevation.
Those are the things that correlate directly with and generate the currency, not debt creation.
So, inner growth, contribution, and learning literally become the drivers of wealth.
That's the core concept. And to track this, you need a completely new metric for success that goes beyond GDP. The source mentions the conscious growth level, or CGL. It acts as a kind of GDP for enlightenment, tracking inner transformation alongside material prosperity.
That actually makes sense. If time is life, and life is 86,400 seconds of potential investment, then the highest form of investment is in consciousness and contribution.
Which then cycles back to create the currency needed to support that system. It's a self-sustaining cycle built on value, not on extraction.
And the infrastructure is already being built for this.
It is. Digital services like an e-citizenship portal, a Hindu compliance system. These are tools designed to take ancient Vedic protocols, like the 60 samskaras, the traditional life cycle practices, and make them executable and verifiable today, providing a foundation for a consciously designed life.
We have traveled from the infinitely small, elusive moment of the subjective self all the way to the incomprehensible time spans of Brahmaloka. We've seen how psychological time, practical time, and cosmic time are all systematically defined and, well, interconnected.
And the final analysis is really this. When you realize you are the consciousness that is the source of time, that you are the screen, you are the track, you gain the power to consciously manifest any quantity or quality of time you want.
And that realization is the key to moving beyond suffering.
It's described as the key to establishing an enlightened, successful life.
That's a powerful idea. And here's where we're going to leave you with a provocative thought, one that really challenges our common perception of history itself.
The source material ultimately claims that the Hindu Puranas are not just mythology. They aren't just religious belief.
They are, in fact, verifiable encoded knowledge of advanced physics principles.
And the material posits this is demonstrated through the internal mathematical consistency of these time-distance ratios across independent texts written thousands of years apart. If that calculation of 6 million years per minute in Brahmaloka is consistent with dozens of other cosmological ratios in unconnected texts, then realizing that mathematical coherence is offered as a liberation from what the source calls the conspiracy of constant distraction.
It transforms what we call mythology into a coherent, ancient science of space and time that's just waiting to be fully decoded. So the question is, what verifiable encoded knowledge are you ready to unlock in your own life?